Hey everybody, welcome back. So this is the 29th vlog that I've done. It's hard to imagine that I've done 28 of them already. So today I'll be talking about preparing for infection, building a healthy immune system. And this is also the first one. Don't touch my face. Try not to touch my face, but it's so difficult. So this is the first one that I've done that is scheduled. So if you like this format, please let me know. I'll schedule them more in the future. I tend to do more of these videos on the weekend when I have more time, and I do some research throughout the week. But really, someone in the last video when I was doing it said, hey, when are you going to do the next one? What times are going to be at? And so that gave me the idea of scheduling it. So that's what I did today, and really curious how that's going to work out. If it works out better for you, then I will continue to do that. So let's get into it. What a day. It's, well, first of all, I just hope everybody is at home and everybody is safe. So this is, a lot of the people that are watching these videos, I'm getting to know some of you. So it's really cool when you reach out to me. And so my friends and family, of course, I'm concerned about them, making sure they're at home and they're safe. We have friends and family around the world, but also most of you now I'm getting to know as well. So I really hope that you're all staying safe as we get through this. I think if you're living in Europe, you've been through some of the worst of it already. You're seeing what this is really going to look like. And in North America, this week really was our wake-up call, where we're starting to see how bad it's going to be, right? So we're getting a pretty good dose this week of what this is going to look like, and it's not good at all. So when I woke up this morning, I refreshed the map, and we have over 8,000 more deaths since yesterday globally. So that's worldwide, 8,000 more while I was sleeping. And it was more than 8,000, and that was this morning. So I can't imagine what it is right now. I haven't looked in the last couple hours. And that was over 100,000 more infections within that one day as well. So within that 12-hour time period. So remember the time when we were counting the days to get to 100,000? It took us months to get to 100,000. And now within 12 hours, we do 100,000. So that gives you an idea of the acceleration that we have going on right now. And so I think if you can imagine then, if you can do the math on that for the next week or two, it's pretty scary. So we have to treat everybody as if they're infected at this point when we go out. And I think that by doing so, you're probably not far wrong. Okay, so that's a little intro to where we are, and that's really kind of what gave me the idea of talking about building up our immune system, preparing for infection. Oh, my face is itchy. Every time I think about not touching my face, I want to touch my face even more. So let me just adjust this a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. So today's topic, let's get into that. I have so much to go through today that I think is going to be helpful. And this will be a lot of the information that I found out, a lot of things that I'm already doing, that I've studied already. And so I'm going to be sharing with you all of that. Hopefully that's helpful. I have at least a half an hour's worth of content here without going into great detail on any particular area. I could easily go longer, so we'll see how it goes. If people ask questions, then I'm happy to share and go through that and collaborate. And if you're not watching this video in real time right now, if you have ideas or if you disagree with any of these ideas, especially if you're a doctor or if you've studied these things, if you have information on this, if you want to share down below in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. A lot of people read those, and it's very helpful for our viewers. So that would be fantastic. So as we try to delay infection as long as possible, we're trying to both flatten the curve and increase the odds of better treatment for ourselves. So, but we also have to be prepared for the sad fact that many of us will become infected before we would prefer to be. So for me, for example, I would prefer not to be infected for another year. Maybe there's a vaccine by that time. That would be ideal. But at least I would prefer to have the curve a little flatter, so there's not as many people in the hospital that I'm competing with for ventilators, for hospital beds, for nurses, for doctors, for all those things. I would really not want to be there in the next month or so. Hopefully, after that, we'll be out of the storm to some degree, And then if we get infected, we'll be a little bit better off. So that's the plan, just delaying it as long as possible. Are we going to be infected? Most likely, right? If you live in an urban area, if you live in part of the civilized world, you're probably going to get infected sooner than later. So I think that's really important for us to prepare for, to assume we're going to get infected. So, what they say, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So we don't want to be infected. We want to avoid infection however we can. Of course, first responders are going to have a harder time doing that than others. And we have to support our first responders as best we can. I see a lot of good things. There's a lot of initiatives out there where they're building masks for them. They're doing 3D printing for face shields. A lot of these things, I think, are some of the most admirable efforts that we can see going on today, right now. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of blame. None of that's useful. But the people that are building masks, that are adapting and changing their business to support what we need right now, man, those are the people in the arena, right? Remember that poem where I forget who it was. I'll put it in the comments down below, right? But the only person that really matters is the person in the arena, and the person that's trying, right? And those are the people that are trying that I see. So great, huge shout out to those people. I'll put the links down below as well for some of those efforts that I've come across. So all right. So before I get started into my recommendations, I want to have a quick disclaimer here. And because I think in the last one I did, I talked about supplements and some of the supplements that I use. And I got a little bit of criticism on that. Well, not only one person, actually, but one's enough, right? I listen to all of you, all the comments I read, and I try to respond to them. And one of the comments was, hey, don't trick people into thinking that this will cure COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And I want to be clear on that right at the very beginning. So I am not a doctor. I have very limited medical training. I have just a basic CPR. So if you're having a heart attack, if you have an airway obstruction, I could probably help you. But I am not a doctor. I am not trained. I'm not a nutritionalist. I have no qualifications whatsoever to make recommendations for you as a person. And I am definitely not an expert in COVID-19 or the coronavirus or whatever they're going to call it tomorrow. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way so that we can go forward. And again, another thing is that everybody is different. So what works for me may or may not work for you, and vice versa, right? So if you're making changes to your lifestyle, which most of us are right now, and that is something I would recommend, that we change our lifestyles, we improve our lifestyles, and we adapt to make sure we're ready. But as we do that, you should consult your family doctor and let them know that, hey, I'm planning to do this. Do you have any concerns? They're going to be swamped right now. So that may be by email or voicemail or something like that. But if you are taking prescription medicines for an existing ailment, then that would be a very good idea to talk to them about that. Because when we're talking supplements, and I'm going to talk about way more than just supplements today, but when we talk about supplements, I think it's important to know that even supplements that seem low risk, right? You can, on some of them, overdose on supplements which cause issues, and they can conflict with other prescription drugs or even other supplements that you're taking. So there is a risk there that you need to look at. For many of us, I am not yet taking any prescription drugs for my health, so I take some supplements with relatively low risk, and I don't do too heavy of a dosage either. So because I just want to be very careful with that, and I don't always take them every day. I might take them every day for a week if I feel I'm high risk, or I was near someone that was sick or something like that, or I'm feeling down. Vitamin B helps me with that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you don't have to take them every day either. That's the thing, right? So I talked to somebody who had symptoms that were really weird, and she stopped taking supplements, and the symptoms went away. So obviously, the symptoms or the supplements were causing that discomfort. So this is not an absolute science. We don't have this dialed in 100% yet, and I hope we will in the near future. But just know that it's a little bit of hit and miss. And as an individual, you need to really take control of your health, of your supplement intake, of everything else, and really kind of figure that out. These are just general recommendations, or not even recommendations really so much as observations. that we can collaborate on. So also, I have no affiliation or sponsorship with any of the products that I talk about in this video. If you want to give me money or sponsor me to talk about some vitamins, I wouldn't necessarily be against that as long as they're high quality and they have some studies that show that they're effective. I'm going to talk about one product that I use that has studies out there showing that it's effective against a certain thing that I didn't want. And I'm going to talk about that. So I really like that product. There's not many products I can say that of, actually, because I'm always worried about the amount of contaminants or the actual real product that's in them. LabDoor is a great website to take a look at supplements and see how pure they are. So, because I've heard all sorts of horror stories around that. So, and the final thing before I get into content is, for my disclaimer, is I always encourage correction or verification to whatever I say. So if I say something, and I say a lot of things, if I say something that you think is incorrect, just call me on it in the comments. Say, Rob, you may have made a mistake here. Here's a link to the study that shows that this is, incorrect. Excuse me, incorrect, or the details around that. I will thank you for that, because I'm human. I make mistakes, and I could make a mistake today. So I'm never against that. I think it's, as a community, that's what we want to do. Okay, that's enough of all that disclaimer stuff. Whew, that was long. Let's get right into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is food. Food is probably, when we're looking at building up our immune system and preparing for infection, food and a few other things are these daily exercise or daily routines that we have to do. We have to eat, and we have to do that, and we have to eat anyway. So it's really just a matter of what are we sticking in our mouth, right? What kind of food are we going to eat? And as we are preparing for infection, we know it's coming. We're prepared to get sick. It's like this, I was going to say preparing for the flu, but it's not the flu. It's much worse than the flu. So we're preparing to battle this thing, and we want to be in the 80% bracket. We don't know what gets us into that 80% safe bracket as opposed to the 20% that have issues. But we want to increase our odds as much as possible. So we want foods that don't create a negative reaction. So if you have allergies, you want to avoid foods that cause your allergies, probably. But also we want to try to get away from insulin spikes and other things that can cause our bodies to be in a less healthy state. We want to provide energy to our body so we can exercise, which I will talk about as well. But we want to do as much as we can right now to feed our bodies with that best nutrition that we can, that's going to really promote good sleep, good exercise, good energy, and the ability for our bodies to fight off any viruses or bacteria, right? And it's not just a matter of fighting off the coronavirus. We want to remove the chance of any complications as well, because the coronavirus in and of itself, I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, but it seems like that kicks off a series of events which then cause problems, right? And pneumonia is one of those things. So pneumonia seems like a side effect of the coronavirus. You get the infection in your lungs, and that causes difficulty in breathing, reduces your oxygen levels, and does all these really nasty things. So we want to build up defenses against that, not just the coronavirus, right? We don't want to have the flu the same time we have the coronavirus. We don't want to have a cold. We don't want to be run down. We don't want any of those things. We want to be in full fighting position, right? So that we can do our best. That's the objective here. So based off of that, some of the recommendations that I would have would be to get as many whole foods in our diet as possible. And some of the things I look at, of course, are vegetables are really at the top of my list. Why vegetables? Well, vegetables are awesome because for a bunch of different reasons. Some of the vegetables I like are carrots, potatoes, yams, onions, garlic. So those vegetables, they keep really well. I can buy a box of those, a big bag of those, and I can put them in my garage, and they're going to last for probably months, which right now is actually perfect because I don't want to go out any more than I have to. I definitely don't want to go to the store and be stuck in a store in a lineup with a bunch of people that are coughing and sneezing all over me. I mean, that defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. So I want to go out once a month, maybe less, right? Right now, I'm kind of gearing up to not go out again I've been here in the house for 2 weeks, I think, without going out. So I want to do at least another 2 to 4 weeks without going out because we're right at the beginning of the total chaos, right? So that's kind of my plan. So you go out, you get your big box or bag of vegetables. They're low cost, right? Well, they're going up all the time, and you can get a lot of these from farms and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be from a higher price grocery store, but they're great value for what you're getting for the nutrients, the density, the storage, the cost. All those things is fantastic value. Plus, they're really good for you. Plus, there's so many different ways you can cook these things, right? Like with carrots, you can just peel them and eat them raw instead of eating those potato chips, right? Fantastic. Flavorful. You can get some that are really nice. There's a variety of different ones out there. You can shred them and put them into a shepherd's pie. You can cut them into slices and throw them into a soup or a stew or anything like that. Sometimes I'll make some ground beef or ground pork and put some spices in that, maybe a curry, throw some chopped potatoes, chopped carrots in there. And you know, it's a really super hearty meal that will fuel me. Like I could eat one big bowl of that and pretty much last me the whole day. But you know, so fantastic. I think top of my list, great thing. Out of the vegetables, onions and garlic right now would be at the very top of my list, right? I mean, all the other ones are awesome, super nutrient, super dense. But onions and garlic, if you look at the history of those things, are very well known for their medicinal properties, right? Their ability to help you fight off viruses and bacteria. So right now I'm eating a lot of onions and garlic. Yeah, I eat garlic. I'll show you. If you don't like mashing up garlic, and I'm one of those people, I didn't like. I wanted to eat it raw for a while, and I'll show you a product that I have for that. But don't touch my face. But I like to put it in my food quite a bit. But it's a bit of a chore to take the garlic clove and crush it and do all that stuff, and then put it in your spaghetti sauce or your stir fry or whatever it is. So you can buy this stuff, and it's already pre-crushed. And see, it's in this container here. And this is from an Asian store. I think it's Korean written on there, right? But it's crushed garlic. And I think you can get this at different stores. But it's this sort of container that you're looking for. It's probably in the refrigerated area. And it's already done for you. So you just take a spoon and take it out and plop it in the fry pan. And Bob's your uncle, right? So how cool is that? I love that. I don't know if it's the best quality of garlic. So I'm a bit of a garlic snob at this point now. I mean, there's certain things that I am a little bit pretentious about. Coffee is one of them. Scotch, single malts is another. Cigars, garlic, and there's a few others, I guess. But yeah, so not the best quality, I guess. But you know, I'm also lazy, so there's that. All right, so that's vegetables. There's a whole bunch of vegetables out there that you can get. Yams are quite often overlooked. Sweet potatoes, oh man, I love sweet potatoes. I'll take those, wrap them in tinfoil, throw some salt and pepper and butter in them with the tinfoil, throw them in the oven for a little bit. Whew. Oh, I got to tell you about this one too. The latest thing that I figured out, take the garlic, and this is what you can do with cloves of garlic. Wrap it in tinfoil, throw it in the oven with whatever you're baking for like 15 minutes, pull it out, and then scrape the garlic out of the cloves, out of the wrapper part of it, into your mashed potatoes, and then mash that up. Oh my God. Like, I love mashed potatoes, but that just takes it to a whole new level. So, and I think it's super healthy as well. So try that. There you go. Quick recipe. All right. So that brings us to fruit, apples, oranges, kiwis. Kiwis are amazing. I didn't know how amazing they were. Thank you, Australia. They weren't previously called kiwis. So there's a whole history there you can read about. But basically, they're kind of like this unknown superhero for as far as the fruit world. So really good. I put them in my smoothies now. And I think they're actually super healthy. I forget all the details of it, so go look it up. But they're just packed with all sorts of good things as far as vitamins. Bananas, avocados, love avocados. And so one of the things I didn't know about avocados, which I think is helpful for us right now with the shortage of things like that, is you can take the pip, which is quite large. You know, it takes about 25% of the volume of an avocado. You can take that and you can put it in your smoothie. How does that work? Well, the pip feels really hard, but if you put it in your blender, I mean, I have a cheapo blender, and it just makes nothing out of it, and it blends it up. I mean, it's going to make your smoothie quite thick, so make sure you've got a lot of liquid in there, but either like water, milk, or almond, soy, whatever it is. But it actually, those are very nutrient as well. I'm touching my face. So So do that. Yeah, I think that way you utilize everything but the skin of the avocado. So I think that's pretty cool. The other thing that I like is fermented foods. So as far as gut health, there's kimchi, sauerkraut. I love them both. There's also kombucha, which is quite popular. A lot of sugar sometimes in those kombucha drinks, so I don't tend to have too many of those. So those are cool. I would recommend those for overall gut health. There's been a lot of studies around gut health, and I really do think that it contributes to our overall health quite a bit. And I think it's overlooked a little bit. I think it's also misunderstood a lot. I don't think there's a lot of good studies that have been verified around that, but there's enough to make me think that there's something to it. So I think that I would recommend you look into it, and I would recommend that you try these fermented foods. Some people hate them because some of them are pretty strong tasting. I will definitely agree with that, but I would recommend them. The other thing is water. I actually hurt my health over the years quite a bit because I never drank water. I thought drinking water was ridiculous. I drank a lot of tea and coffee, like actually I'm drinking right now, but I also have my water here with me right now. And you know what I would recommend for that? I'm just going to slide over here and show you this. So I got one of these, and I'm not recommending any brand here. This just fits in my backpack quite well, and that way I can measure my water intake, so that I make sure that I'm drinking enough water. What I did is I didn't drink water. I touched my face again. Didn't drink water for years, and it actually caused some health problems with me. I can't say for sure that it caused them actually, but when I started drinking more water, my health immediately started to get better, and the problems I had went away. So I think that drinking water is much more important than I ever imagined. I don't drink enough to like flush away my nutrients or anything like that. I try to drink at least 3 to 4 of these glasses per day. You can read on the internet. There's a whole bunch of statistics on how much you should drink. I'm touching my face again. I'm itchy right there. There, that's better. So you should, drink as much water as you think is appropriate. Some days I don't drink any, and then the next day I'll drink a little more. So how to find good food when you go shopping. Someone told me once, shop around the perimeter of the supermarket. That's where all the whole foods type of things are. And in the middle, you have all the commercial and packaged foods and processed foods, which you want to stay away from. If your food that you're buying comes in a wrapper, it's probably not as good as the ones that don't, of course, right? So that's something to think about, and that's helped me quite a bit. I just do my first little bit in the store by just walking the perimeter and picking up all the most healthy things I can find. And then my cart's usually pretty full, and that prevents me from buying all the potato chips that I want to buy. So that's something to try. The next thing is not so much what to eat, but what to avoid, and that is sugar. I try to really cut sugar out of my diet as much as possible. I'm, as you could probably tell, around middle age, and so as I get older, my metabolism slows down quite a bit. And that's a problem as far as weight gain and things like that. So I'm really careful what I eat as far as sugars, fructose, sucrose, natural flavor. It's easy to avoid fructose and sucrose because it's on the labels and you can see it. But I find a lot of times they trick us now, and they'll say things like natural flavor. Well, first of all, everything's natural, so that doesn't explain what that is. But it's not what you're thinking. It's not made straight from a plant. Basically a chemical, probably something like MSG is usually what natural flavor is, which is not good. It's a carcinogenic. And so it's really bad when they do things like that. So I'll look for those sort of items on labels, and if it has it, I won't buy it. And if it has a bunch of chemicals that I just don't know what they are, I won't buy it either. So there's that. That's one way to try to eliminate those bad things in your diet. You can't totally eliminate sugars because a lot of the fruit that we eat has sugars in it. So, and I try to eat a little bit of fruit, not a lot. Right now I'm eating a lot of oranges and kiwis and bananas. So, and then what I also try to do with the sugars is, because the problem with sugars is that insulin spike, I'm looking for things that slowly release the insulin. So when I eat a lot of oats for breakfast, I think those are very healthy, a lot of fiber. I actually have switched to the steel cut oats, which are a little bit chewy, even when I cook them for a long time. But they have a much slower release of those calories and therefore the insulin. So even though they're all carbs, it's much better that way. So I'm not getting as much of a problem there. So I don't feel that kind of when you eat a big bowl of spaghetti, you get that food coma. I'm not getting that at all. So I think that's really good, especially for a breakfast meal, right? You don't want to be tired after an hour after you have breakfast. And then the next thing is really reducing the amount of food that we eat, right? Stop putting stuff in your mouth is what I always tell my kids if they want to lose. We're talking about losing weight, and they said, well, there's a special pill you can take. It's like, no, don't do a special pill. Just stop putting stuff in your mouth. And not that they have to lose weight. We were just discussing dieting. And so I think that when we look at right now, we're all at home. We're all bored at home. Well, I'm not bored, but I've heard some people are. And naturally, we would probably eat more. Just don't open the fridge. I saw somebody had a sign in their fridge and it says, you're not hungry, you're just bored. That's probably the case. I know I open the fridge a lot when I'm bored. So another thing to think about is smaller servings. So when you're having dinner, when you're having lunch, I know we're always hungry when we're creating our meals quite often, right? That's why we're creating the meals, is because we're hungry. Well, and when we're hungry, we like to think, well, I'm going to eat a whole bunch. Well, try not to. Maybe just make a bunch of food, but then serve yourself a little bit, maybe half of it, and leave the other half for a few hours later, or maybe even dinner. And you'll find that after you eat that first serving, you're probably feeling pretty good, and you can go on with your day, rather than forcing all of that food into you that you may not burn off, right? The other thing which I've been experimenting with, which I think is quite interesting, and I would recommend people look into this, is intermittent fasting. Now, I don't go all day without eating. I don't go multiple days without eating. I don't know. I mean, of course I could, but would I want to do that? Probably not. But what I do is I stop eating a few hours before I'm going to go to sleep. And I think that it helps my body a little bit. I stop drinking water as well a few hours before I go to sleep, so I don't have to get up. But then I don't eat sometimes until around noon the next day. Sometimes, of course, it depends. If your stomach is just growling and it hurts, you're so hungry it hurts, then go ahead and have a snack. But I find for me, when I get up, I often don't feel hungry. So I just wait until usually around lunchtime, and then I'll have a pretty decent, nutritious meal. The other thing that you can do is, if you want to lose weight, when you wake up in the morning before you eat, do a little bit of cardio. And again, talk to your doctor. Everybody's different. You need to figure out what's right for you. But if you do a little bit of cardio, maybe on the bike or the treadmill, before you have that caloric intake, and then leave it for a little while for your body to continue to burn, I've heard, and it seems to work for me, where that's going to help you reduce and stay in better shape, or more efficiently. So take a look at that. I'm pretty fascinated by that. If you're doing that already, I'd love to hear how you're doing. Okay, that's food. Let's move into supplements, kind of my second area of all this. And again, I'm not saying supplements will cure COVID-19. Supplements will not stop you from catching COVID-19 or the flu or anything like that. I'm going to show you and talk about what I take and what's been recommended, what I see out there. Consult your doctor before you take any of these, because they could interfere with other medicines that you're taking, okay? I just want to be really fair with people. I assume everybody already knows this stuff as far as what I just said, but I just want to make sure, because we're living in troubling times, I don't want to make anybody worse off than they already are. That's why I keep repeating that, and I just want to make sure everybody benefits from this and doesn't get any negative experience, okay? All right, so vitamin C. Antioxidant activity that decreases inflammation when you take vitamin C or when you have vitamin C. If you're eating a lot of fruit and oranges and stuff, you may be getting enough already, but if you want to boost that up with some supplements, that works as well. It helps boost collagen production needed for healthy skin. Skin is your biggest organ. It's your natural barrier to these things. So that probably sounds good. Promotes wound healing. That probably sounds good. Boosts the activity of immune cells that swallow harmful bacteria and other particles, which are proteins that can attack foreign or harmful substances in your blood. So that all sounds really good, right? So I think it definitely helps. I'm going to put some links to studies down below in the comments, or not the comments, but in the description down below, so that you can read more details about these things, right? So vitamin C, I take a vitamin C supplement at least once a week. Of course, I've gone a long time without taking one before, especially when I run out. But I think right now, just because I'm trying to make sure I'm always prepared and always ready, I am supplementing vitamin C at least once a week, sometimes every day. But it's kind of it's not something I feel I need every day, because I eat a lot of fruit right now. Vitamin E, is another one that I think is important. It's an antioxidant, and it helps protect your cells from damage, which I think is important right now as well. It's an essential nutrient which occurs in many foods already, but I think sometimes if you're not eating those foods, it's important to make sure that you're getting that supplement. And it's a fat-soluble nutrient as well, right? So it means your body stores this and uses it as it's needed. So I think that's quite interesting. Vitamin C and E help protect cells from oxidative stress. So again, I think that's quite useful for us right now. Vitamin D for me right now is the most interesting, because what we see is a lot of doctors and nurses in clinical areas have put their patients in sunlight because they want them to get that vitamin D. So, I live in a northern area in Canada. I don't get as much sunlight as somebody down in the southern areas of California or something like that. So I do take a vitamin D supplement because I'm not getting all the sunlight that I would like. So it says some immune cells need vitamin D to help destroy pathogens that cause infection. That sounds good. Although sun exposure allows the body to produce vitamin D, food sources include fish, eggs, some milk and margarine brands may be fortified with vitamin D. That means they try to add vitamin D to it. Not as good. I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, if you're getting that in your cereal, maybe it's not a bad thing, but I like to take it, from the sun directly if I can, or I would do a supplement, a high quality supplement. And so again, I'll put the links down below to that. Vitamin B, I take vitamin B maybe like once a week, but I'm taking a little bit more often now. But for me, vitamin B really helps with my mental state, weirdly enough. So if I'm feeling at all negative or a bit blue or moody, I take a vitamin B and almost immediately I start to feel better about everything. And I don't know, maybe it's psychosomatic or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, that's why I like vitamin B. Vitamin B, particularly B6, B9, B12, contribute to the body's first response once it has a recognized pathogen. That sounds important, right? So they do this by influencing the production of and activity of natural killer cells. Natural killer cells work by causing infected cells to implode rather. Explode would probably, that might be bad. So implode. So that sounds good. I would think supplementing with that would, within reason, would be beneficial right now. And then iron, zinc, and selenium. We need iron, zinc, and selenium for immune cell growth, among other functions. Iron helps kill pathogens by increasing the number of free radicals that can destroy them. It also regulates enzyme reactions, essential for immune cells to recognize target pathogens. A lot of people are talking about this right now. I think that if you're taking a multivitamin, you probably have a lot of that in there already. Check your multivitamin just to make sure. However, and be careful with iron and some of those minerals. You can take too much of that, and there's some bad things that can occur if you do. So make sure you take a look at that. The next one I have is garlic. And we talked about garlic a little bit, cooking with garlic, the rich history of garlic as far as how it fights different things to keep us healthy. I did some research on garlic. Actually, I was researching how to keep me healthy and reduce my risk of a heart attack due to artery buildup of the plaque in your arteries, because my dad actually had a heart attack, and hereditary, that I probably share the genes that would cause me to have the same thing. So how do I, besides eating healthy, how do I avoid that or try to avoid that? And I found some research that talked about this liquid aged garlic extract. And there's actually studies out there that show how they went through this and reduced the plaque buildup in arteries. There's not a lot of things that do that. So not only would it be helpful for getting us healthy, building up our immune system, but I think it also has a bunch of, and this is what they study used, this one here. So I would take a look at that. I bought this off of Amazon, and I tried eating raw garlic for a long time, and it was terrible to try to eat. It would make me want to throw up sometimes. I would let it sit for a little while. That would make it a little bit better. But I find cooking garlic, I think, reduces the potency of it. So with this, at first, when I started to take it, it was a little bit like, whoa, right? Because it's quite strong. It's liquid form garlic, basically. So then I started taking it on a spoon. I would take about 10 drops on a spoon with a glass of water, and I would shoot it back. And actually now I'm totally used to it. I don't even notice it. I brush my teeth afterwards, but I don't think there's a lot of odor to this because it's not like you're chewing it. So I'm touching my face again. Oh. So anyway, check it out. If you're interested in that sort of thing, I highly recommend you read the studies and then try it out if you're so imposed. So yeah, I like that. The final one I have for supplements is protein powder. Kind of weird, right? But I bought a bunch of protein powder because I don't necessarily always eat as much protein during the day as I think I should. I'm exercising a lot right now. Every day I exercise. I lift weights. I do cardio. And I just, based on how my body felt, I felt a little tired. So I started increasing my protein intake, and then the tiredness went away, and I felt a little more energetic. So now I have a smoothie every day with a bunch of vegetables in it. I throw spinach in it, sometimes carrots. I put some of my supplements directly in that. I put my kiwi in there. I put my protein powder in there. And sometimes I put a little algae in there as well. And blend that up, take it, it's 2 minutes, and I'm done. And I think that that definitely improves a bunch of things for me. My mood, my performance, my energy levels. And I think if you're not able to go out there and get the proteins that you need from the store, having some protein powder that doesn't really go bad very easily. I mean, definitely doesn't go bad as quickly as a steak would or a chicken. So I have a couple bags of protein powder that I put in the fridge to make it last even longer, but they're already sealed. So as long as they're kept in a cool place, then they should be fine for quite a while. But that's what I do. And I think that's a good option for us right now as we move into this crazy kind of pandemic, bad shopping experience. To have those as your backup, I think not a bad idea. So watch. Now the cost of protein powder is going to go through the roof. So there you go. Okay, finally, let's see. We're into exercise. Now I know as soon as I say exercise, everybody's like, "Oh, do we have to?" Okay, so here's the thing about exercise. It's not that bad, really. Like for those of you that are already doing it, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's not that bad. So let's talk about the benefits first of all. So exercise basically is the best medicine that you can take. If you ask any sort of medical person, I mean, the problem with the medical industry is when you go to your doctor, they're not going to tell you to stop eating Doritos and start exercising. They're just not going to do that. They're going to write you a prescription. So that's bad. But if you ask them, hey, is exercise beneficial? And how beneficial is it? Well, it's like top of the list, right? My voice cracked there. Top of the list, right? Besides what you eat, there's exercise and what you eat. And that's like whoop, up here. So I think it's worth talking about, right? And I get it. Many of you are busy and, maybe you haven't exercised for a while. So that's a scary thing to get into. But let's talk about all of that, okay? So exercise definitely worth looking at. It makes the body more efficient in so many ways, right? It reduces weight, which removes risk of diabetes and other diseases. It makes you look good, right? There's that as well. So it releases chemicals in your body after you do it. It makes you feel good. So you look good, you feel good, you are good, right? Reduces the chance of accidents which result in physical trauma, right? So as you get in better shape, your balance gets better. You're able to support yourself better. You can carry things easier. You can stretch and move easier. You're not going to put your back out as easy, right? If something comes flying at you, you're able to move out of the way easier. So there's all that, right? I mean, we don't even think about that quite often, but your chance of injury goes way down the more fit you are. So there's also that, right? But wait, I'm not done. There's even more. So, okay, so actually I am done. That's the end of my list. I thought I had a bunch more. I thought my list was way longer there. But that's enough, I think, right? For benefits for exercising. Okay, so why we don't exercise. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we don't exercise, but mostly, I mean, for me, it's because I'm lazy. And it means I have to put some effort into it. But I think when we're thinking about exercising, we're like, well, I don't really want to. I haven't done it for a year. I might hurt myself. Yes, especially right now. I actually agree with you. You could hurt yourself if you just jump right into it, cold turkey, and start just going full out. So don't do that. What I recommend for any of these lifestyle changing habits that we want to adopt is do it slow. Do it ridiculously slow. So, for example, for exercising, depending on your state already and the foundation that you have, that's going to dictate how quickly you start. But you don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a position to go to the doctor right now. That's what we don't want to do that. So we want to be ultra careful, even more conservative than we normally would be. So here's an example of something I might recommend for people. If you haven't exercised in a long time and you're worried about the effort, the time it takes, all those things, do this. Say, I'm going to spend 1 minute today exercising. 1 minute, right? You spend more time than that doing almost everything else. Like you brush your teeth probably longer than that. And if you don't, maybe you should. I think what is it? Like a couple minutes you want to brush your teeth for? Anyway, like what's 1 minute? It's nothing. You could do that standing on your head, literally, right? So, and do like jumping jacks or just jump up and down or do arm circles in the air. Do anything that makes your heart rate go up a little bit. 1 minute. Start with 1 minute. The next day, maybe 2 minutes. And if you want to go up in increments of one, that's fine until you get to a point where you want to maybe double it or something like that, right? But what I'm saying is start ultra small and just build off of that. Because if you say, I'm going to exercise for a whole hour today, I'm going to do like the P90X whole routine, just blast it out. A, you're going to hurt yourself. And two, you're going to be sore the next day. So that's going to be a negative reaction to what you're trying to do, which is not going to help you, not going to promote you to keep doing it. And if you've just started, you have high risk of injury. So really, I would say starting super small and just building off of that platform, that to me, that's a better approach. But that would be my suggestion. Cardio, I think, is a good thing to start with. Tracking your progress is also another good thing to start with. You can do body weight exercises. So if you can't go to the gym right now, which is the case, some things I would recommend are, of course, the push-up, sit-up, squats, lunges, all those things, planks, those are great, wall leans, arm circles, jumping jacks, right? The list goes on and on and on. Just Google body weight exercises, and there's plenty of them, and there's variations of that. So if you just look at like the push-up, there's a dozen variations of that, so you'll never get bored. So there you go. There's some ideas. And also some other things that I do, because I have a very short attention span, I'm also very lazy. Some of the things I like to do is mix the exercise in with some other things I'm doing. So when I'm cooking, for example, I'm waiting for things to boil, I'm waiting for things to heat up. I just run over to an empty space near my kitchen and I start doing some push-ups or sit-ups, even squats. And I just do that as I'm doing other stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bang off a rep right now and I just go do it. When I'm in the shower, I quite often do calf rises in the shower. And so you can kind of work this into your daily lifestyle. So it's a 30-second thing that you don't even notice, that you just kind of do throughout the day. And that's totally fine. I think that works great. So there. Then for number 4, I've got stop doing bad things. Now, we all do bad things. We all do things that are not going to increase our health, that are actually detrimental to our health. And we should probably stop doing some of those, or at least reduce. What would be some examples of that? So if you're eating way too much, if you're eating things that are very unhealthy, stop doing that, reduce doing that, right? You're not going to stop overnight. So even I eat a bag of chips sometimes. I drink a beer and eat a bag of chips on some Friday nights. And yes, I understand that's not good. The next day, I try to burn that off, right? I take responsibility for it and try to burn it off. But just try to reduce if you can't do that big change. I never recommend people do these huge changes like that. I think it's very difficult to sustain. So just start chipping away at it. If you're not exercising, now is a good time to start exercising. If you're a big smoker, now is a good time to start thinking about reducing and then eventually stopping smoking, right? This, especially with COVID-19, I think that if you're smoking and your lungs are weak, you're at higher risk. So that right there is a huge thing that you can start working on. Drinking. So if you're drinking a lot, and I'm not talking about the odd beer. I think that the odd beer or odd drink is probably not a big deal. I think if you're drinking so much that it's impacting your health, then I think now is a good time to slow that down a little bit. And I don't have any recommendations for how you would do that. I think you need to get some guidance from somebody smarter than me in that area to get that done. But I think that definitely would be a good idea. The other area is stress. And I think this is something we can all relate to really well. So how much stress is in your life. And we're trying to figure out a way to reduce that. And quite often, the stress will come from your job or your family or your health or a situation, environment that you're in. And I think that one of the first things I would recommend is talking to people. about your stress, what's stressing you, what's triggering that stress, so that those people can help you to avoid that. So that's one thing. That's a subject in and of itself that we could go on for an hour, which I won't do today. But looking at, like, how stressed are you right now, right? I know we all are probably a little stressed right now because we're all, basically stuck in our houses, and we're not going to work, and we're all worried about what's going to happen to the world. So there's definitely an element of stress there. But focus on what you can change and what you can influence, and try to let the rest go as much as you can. Exercise will help your stress. So if you're not exercising now, that should definitely kick off those chemicals that help you with your stress. Vitamin B helps me with my stress, so that's something you could also look at. Not sleeping enough or having high quality sleep. So this is a big one for me. If I am not able to get solid 7 hours, I like 8 hours. Actually, I'm a big sleeper. So that helps me a lot. I can perform way better if I've had a good sleep. And not just enough sleep, but quality sleep. So if something's waking you up several times in the night, that's not a quality sleep. You want to have a really fresh quality sleep. So when you wake up, you're not like, oh man, it's the time to wake up already. You don't want that. You want to be like, yeah, that was nice. That was good. That's what you're looking for. So do whatever you need to do to get that. I sometimes put earplugs in if I think that the birds are going to wake me up, or something else is going to wake me up, traffic, or whatever it is in your area. That's something you can take a look at. So that helps me a lot. So that's it. That's what I've got on my list so far as how to prepare for infection and building a healthy immune system. So, really that cause us to decrease our immunity. So that's it. If you've got ideas that I didn't list, or want to expand on any of those topics, or if I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. That will tell me what kind of content you like. And if you want to be alerted to future videos, hit the subscribe button, and then the little bell button will actually alert you for my next video. I've got a bunch of videos that I'm planning on doing, both for COVID-19, to keep you apprised of what's going on and what we can do to better prepare. But then also, once we start traveling again, I'm going to get into more gear reviews, destinations, and other things like that can definitely help you as you plan for those vacations. So that's it for me. Hopefully that was helpful for you, and stay safe out there. Safe travels. See you later.